live hangout. This is Becky from Begs and Books over here in Australia, and then over in England I am joined by Kerry from A Novel Experience, and we're here to do a book review / discussion, a spoiler one, on You by Caroline Kepnes. Not you yourself, but the book actually in itself is called You, which is very confusing. Ooh, yeah. We don't actually have a physical copy, so we're just going to work with Goodreads picture because our ebooks just don't want to stay on the title page. So we're just like, help. So this is our second attempt from the first time we attempted it, and it's like take two. But our cats have pretty much settled down.
She's now burrowed under the covers.
So I think this time round we've got it going. We're not listening to ourselves speak again because someone had her YouTube channel on and it was playing live also on that. So we got the great feedback. So we shall start by introducing ourselves again. And so we will take it away with Kerry. Woo!
Hey, it's Kerry from A.
Hey,
how you doing?
You doing? Hey, Fonzie.
From A Novel Experience, here in sunny old England, where it is currently midnight. My favourite genres are fantasy, ranging from middle grade to adult, and I also like a really good crime thriller or a psychological thriller. I'm not fussy with my thrillers as long as they are thrilling.
As long as they thrill me.
I am a forensic psychology student studying criminals and psychopaths and serial killers and sociopaths and all that sort of jolly fun stuff.
Which you will find fascinating when we go on about Joe, the lead character in You by Caroline Kepnes, because you will find some pretty interesting, I guess, fangirling moments considering...
It makes you very conflicted.
We are very, I don't know, I think he's just very good at justifying himself, but we will go on with that in a second. Yeah, so also it's kind of like a cat book club. So Miss Kerry here has Miss Gracie. So we're not going to show
right now, or I'd pick her up and wave her about a bit, but
no, we don't want to get her worked up again. And I have Miss Candace, who is also sleeping because cats do that. Is Gracie saying hello?
I think she's come on. She's just crawled out from the covers, but I don't know where she's going.
Probably to get food.
Probably. Or to howl at me again.
Yeah. She probably was just reminding you need to go to loo or something like that. She was trying to be good.
Yeah.
So I am Becky Johnson. I don't think people really need to know that, but whatever. I am from Australia, where we get like 4 seasons in one day. So currently it is like about 11:30 in the morning here. So it's crazy how I'm in the future and you're not. I enjoy reading so many genres. I am so versatile in what I like to read. I just go by my mood and everything. I haven't read psychological thrillers for such a long time, though I do have a fascination of forensic psychology, and that's why Kerry and I get along so well, because we just have so much in common. It's like soul sisters for sure. And thanks to Kerry, I got back into my thrilling forensic style genres, which is great. And yeah, I can't really tell you what my favorite genre particularly is because it's so mood-like. So at the moment it's kind of romantic flick sort of thing, but yesterday it was like fantasy, and then like a week ago it was like thrilling. So let's just say I don't have a specific favorite at the moment, but I work full-time as an administrator, receptionist. I don't study or anything like that. I did want to be a forensic pathologist, so I'm going to live vicariously through you, Kerry, if that's okay. And
I got your back.
Thanks, girl. I can just see it now. She's going to come move down to Australia, and then we are going to make an awesome forensic team here. So I can just see it now. We'll be like, no police cars. We'll be just riding in our kangaroos.
I'm only 5'1". I'd fit.
I'll fit too. I'm like 5'2", 5'3". I don't know. I don't discriminate.
We are tiny people.
Woo! So we have decided, because we have so much in common and because we practically chat every single day through our Voxer app and everything like that, we decided, hey, let's combine our love for books, our love for cats and everything, and make like a book club thingamajig called a novel then book experience. Did I get that right?
I think so.
So we plan on doing a book club thing every month, and we might start a Goodreads page. We're not sure how it will go for now. We're just going to focus on doing live show, I guess, at the end of the month. Would you say, Kerry?
Yeah. Probably around this time at the end of each month.
Yeah, definitely. So we're looking at doing a live book show / discussion. We'll probably also separately do what Kerry has done before, where she did just a quick non-spoiler overview of the book in question that we will be reading. So you can get the non-spoiler one, and then you can watch us both discuss it in a spoiler one. So I think that was really good what you did with you, Kerry. So we will hopefully link all those down below. I will try to remember to link also the non-spoiler review down below as well if you want to hear Kerry's overview. I struggled. I filmed a video of you of a non-spoiler one, and I just couldn't do it. It went for 2 minutes, and then I just couldn't. You just have to discuss more. I don't know how you did it.
It was so hard not to be like, oh my god, I have to talk about it all.
And that's why it was so good to buddy read it, because we got to stop at a certain point and discuss it, because it was like, what is going on? And we were literally on the same page. Literally.
Oh my god, have you finished it yet?
Yeah. Oh my god, it was so crazy amazing. And even when I was driving, I didn't message her. I did voice record her, because I'm like, it is not safe otherwise, obviously. Do not vox and drive at the same time. So I think you could tell by my voice, Kerry, that it was just, I had to discuss what I just read, and it was crazy. So yeah, we do plan on doing the book club, because I'm getting carried away already. Yeah, we plan on doing that.
Do that for you. You will be reading this book, and it will take you away. You get carried away. I think a couple of times we were supposed to read up to like chapter 12, and then the next thing we'd be like, whoops, I've just hit chapter 22. I'm really sorry. I just kept reading.
I mean, I did admit that. Yeah, we did have a good break in between while Kerry had the assignments that she had to do, which was good, because it was getting a bit insane how we were rooting for the wrong person.
The right person.
We needed to take that step back, because, like, obviously Kerry needed to nail her assignments. Woo, go girl. Yeah, but we also had to take that time to get our minds a little bit right again. So I guess we'll start with, like, I guess the beginning of it. Kerry, you want to tip that one away?
Oh, it's so difficult just talking about the start. So basically, we follow a character called Joe, and we meet Joe, and we think, oh, this is really sweet. He's a romantic sort, and
he works at a bookshop.
He works at a bookshop, so obviously everyone is going to love that, because he works with books, and it's centered around the release of, I think is it Dr. Sleep, the new Stephen King release, and it's centered around that, and it's really comical at the beginning, because he's getting so annoyed that everyone is buying this Stephen King book. It's like, no more Stephen King. So that was really comical.
But then he was like, I guess he kind of thought that people were just buying it for the wrong reasons and stuff like that, because he was going to read it himself. But I think he judged people so quickly as well with what they were buying at the very, very beginning. Like, oh, this person's buying this book. Oh, of course. And that person's trying to impress someone with this book. So, and then that's when Beck enters. And I think her name was Genevieve.
Is it Guinevere? Guinevere?
I think so. Guinevere
Yeah.
Beck. And she just wanted to be called her last name, which thank God for that, because otherwise reading it would have been ridiculous.
It really would.
So enter her, and her being in the F2K section.
The F2K section is very important in this book to Joe.
Because
it really is.
It obviously, I think personally, I thought that's where he thought she did that on purpose. I think that was where he was going, like, oh no, she did that on purpose. Obviously she's going to be in the F2K section because she's flirting with me, sort of thing. Did you find that at all?
Yeah, I did. I think it was I think her being in that section held so much significance for him. And then obviously she chose a few of his favourite books, or books that he really liked and respected, and that sort of sparked his interest in her, because he was like, we're obviously soulmates. She's obviously picking them because she fancies the pants off of me, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like, so her choice in books is what sparked his interest first of all, I think.
I think, I believe that something clicked in his mind where he obviously thought that she was doing this specifically for him, though she probably never have met him in her life. So he obviously, I think they show a bit of his past, or like talk about a bit of his past where he was unloved and didn't really, I think Mr. Mooney, the owner of the secondhand bookshop, actually was the one that raised him in some ways.
Yeah, he was like his father figure.
So, yeah, so he didn't really know, I guess, how you should react to certain situations. You just, hey, that person's obviously meant to be, and, you know, they obviously know too, and that's happening, not it's just a coincidence or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, at first I was thinking, this guy's a freaking weirdo.
Well, he is a little bit. Like, he perceives every single little tiny action that she does, whether she moves her shoulders backwards, whether she looks to her left slightly or her right slightly. Right. And he's like, oh, she pressed her chest out for me. She obviously is flirting with me because she's showing me her breasts.
Oh, she, like, made me happy after that stupid customer before her. So, obviously, she wants to be on her knees right now sucking my...
This book is very graphic in terms of sexual encounters.
I was, like, going to say, maybe I should put a rating on this, because I don't want to be, like, saying something and then someone's like, hey, I think we definitely need to decide now. But it is very graphic with certain things. Definitely.
I would definitely say this is a book for adults, not necessarily for young children or young adults. It's definitely an adult book.
Though, the costs. Stupid asthma, allergies. A lot of young adults are, like, pretty similar though along those lines.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it's really, really crass language. It's like it's not so much the fact that they have sex, it's just the way it's described that makes it so graphic. Because it's very much, instead of being like, oh, and then he was inside me and it was magical and it was beautiful, it is very much, he put his penis in my vagina and then I came and that sort of thing. It's really, really quite, like, crass language, but I think it had to be because that shows Joe's mindset.
And I think that was fantastic because it's in the point of view of Joe. So basically, he put his penis in her vagina more. So I got twisted in my brain. Second, I'm like, yeah, all similar. Anyway, but yeah, it is in the point of view of him as a first person view. I think they would call it first person view.
Yeah.
So his point of view is quite. I like how they just continue the bluntness of it all. Oh my God, I can't stop coughing. Did you want to continue while I get this cough under control?
Yeah, so basically Joe becomes obsessed with this girl called Beck based on their brief encounter in the bookstore where she bought some books that he really liked and that sort of thing. And so he Googles her, finds out, like, she pays by credit card. He Googles her name based on what her credit card says. He finds out where she lives, and then he watches her. A good 3 or 4 weeks, he just watches her in her flat, doing her thing, living day to day. She's a aspiring writer, so she's aspiring to be a writer. So she's writing short stories, she's writing books, and he's finding them and hacking them and downloading them. So yeah, he just watches
going into her house though and hacking into her laptop.
Yeah. Oh, he has her phone as well, doesn't he? Did he take it at the shop?
No, they were in the taxi together.
Oh yeah, because
train station.
Yeah, he followed. Like, she goes to a train station out with some of her friends. One of her friends is so horrible. We cannot speak her name.
I don't know. Between her and Umbridge, who would be worse? Like,
I think Umbridge just about takes it.
I think it's Umbridge's daughter. I don't know.
Yeah, they're obviously related. They're distant cousins or something.
Definitely. I would not put that past it, yeah. But, I mean, talking about when he was looking in her window, just
watching.
The way he justified it, I was actually like, well, you know what? He kind of makes a good point.
Yeah, like
you're just standing there in front of your window, dancing about, half naked and stuff like that.
He didn't have curtains, which he really didn't like, but he liked it because he could watch her. But when he was watching her, he was imagining them together. Like, he was like, oh, we're going to buy curtains together. We're going to do this together. We're going to do that together.
Right.
So he doesn't own curtains, and he was like, we're going to get curtains together and put them up. And he hadn't even, like, officially bumped into her outside of the bookshop yet.
That's right. So, and he was, like, also saying that, in case some creeper was stalking you or looking through your window, you're lucky I'm here watching you.
Yeah, like, he saw himself as her protector.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Like,
that makes sense, actually. Like, good on you, Joe. Well done for protecting Beck.
It was. It kind of, like, made that thought happen in my head, and I'm like, but he kind of was protecting her. Like, what happens if there was a creeper, looking through a window? And then I'm like, hang on a second. He is that creeper.
Like, why are we allowing this in our minds?
Yeah, that's when it kind of made you, that's why Caroline's writing is so unreal, because you're just like agreeing with Joe, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You're a protector. I mean, I've never known a man pay so much attention to a woman before, and
like, he loves her so much. I want to be loved like this. And then you think about it, and like, you sort of don't, because he's a stalker. He is a psychopathic stalker.
That's why he pays.
But you want someone to love you like that.
That's right. You want someone to make an effort that Joe made an effort with. Like, he was such a simple guy. He has secondhand furniture that he just got from the streets. He wasn't so fussed about his house or anything. And on top of that, he wasn't very social media savvy, I guess.
He doesn't have Facebook.
Or Twitter. He made one to stalk her. Oh, no, he had other people's Twitter.
Yeah, he didn't have his own Twitter or Facebook, but he
had the other two Facebooks.
Yeah. He goes through a point of using Twitter later on in the story, but it wasn't his account.
Right. So, I mean, he was following her, like you said, for 4 weeks. And then he was, I guess he didn't like her original 2 friends, but I guess he later on appreciated
Lynn and Shanna. Yeah, something like that.
I think we should have written it down.
Probably.
This was like, one of those let's just do it thing.
Her 2 main friends don't have much of a point in the book. Like, they're not you get to meet them officially once, and then you see a couple of email encounters, and then they're not written about much. But this other friend, Peach, is written about a lot, and she's horrible.
Ugh, Umbridge's daughter.
Yep.
I would say it's kind of goes with Beck's personality to not know who's good for her. Like, those two girls are actually good for her, whereas Peach isn't, but you hear about Peach a lot more, and it's the same with the men. You know, she always goes for the wrong men, though we know Joe is the right man.
We know this psychopathic stalker is the right man for Beck.
So that's where you know that something's going on.
Yeah. That's why you need to take a step back from this book and think about it, because it messes with your mind. You're rooting for this guy, and he is a stalker, he's a psychopath, he thinks he's okay. He thinks that there's nothing wrong with him. In his brain, there's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah, and then you kind of try to make excuses for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy because you're just like, oh, hang on a second. Should he really be doing that? I mean, he's a good guy. He's just going about things the wrong way, I believe.
Yeah.
So we continue. Oh, sorry, go.
I was just going to say, Beck is seeing a guy called Benji who really isn't good for her either. He's like one of those people who has sex with her and then he leaves her. Like, he doesn't really appreciate her. They're not boyfriend, girlfriend. He treats her like a sex object and then pretty much just ignores her the rest of the time. But she's seeing this guy called Benji, and he plays quite a big part in the book later on.
Like rich or something. He was rich, but he was a kleptomaniac.
Yeah, he was rich and he just kept stealing things.
So that's when you start to realize what Beck's type is.
Yeah.
That he goes more towards that, like, she would not hang out with the right person for the wrong person because they have money. Like with Peaches, you know that she is in money. She's what, J.D. Salinger's?
Yeah, J.D. Salinger's descendant somehow. We don't ever know how.
Yeah, I mean, they said
related to Salinger.
Yeah, they say it's like uncle, but then they're like, don't mention this or that, but then it might not be, it might will be, but you kind of learn that also. But the first time that I guess, or the second time that they actually meet is when Joe follows her to one of her story readings, and then also follows her to the train station.
She is very drunk at this point. Yeah, very drunk.
Right at the train line, the edge of it, and then there's this homeless guy singing something about something number 9. Because
I can't remember the song. He was singing just like this little ditty, like not really a song, but like a nice little tune, and he's singing and he's having a right old time. He's a homeless man. He's on his own, so he's having a sing song. And Beck is really, really angry and disappointed because Benji said that he was going to go to her book reading, and then he didn't show up. He didn't bother letting her know. He just didn't show up. He didn't turn up, and he left her. He basically stood her up. So she got really, really drunk. And this singing is just irritating her. I don't know if you've ever been that drunk, where something stupid just winds you up so much.
Mm-hmm. And the littlest things.
Yeah, like the littlest stupid things. It can be like someone's clicking their fingers, or the way someone's blinking, or something ridiculous.
That's right.
Gracie's saying hello.
Oh, she's so cuddly. My cat's just like, meh. Candace, why don't you cuddle me like this? Guess I'm not cuddly enough. She's so cute. Oh, it's engine number 9, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Because that actually plays a bit of a role in it later on.
Yeah, it does.
It does, doesn't it? So, yeah, obviously everything annoys her and she's getting frustrated, but she's also getting closer to the edge. And he's like, in his point of view, like, oh, if I was here, All like saying like if I was with you, I wouldn't let you do that. I would take you home or something like that. And speaking
It's
as
a
if
really
they were
unique
already a
perspective.
couple. Yeah, like speaking as if they were already a couple and everything. And then she falls over the edge. And we know a train's coming soon. So that's when he's like debating whether to show himself or not. But then he's like, nah, stuff this. I have to rescue her. And she's
But I
freaked
love her. I have to rescue her.
Yeah. She's freaked out at first, and then she's all like, he's like, just grab my hand, there's a train coming. Like, don't be freaked out. I just appeared out of nowhere. But she was
Mm.
okay with that, and then it was like, oh, my savior sort of thing. You know? Like, was like, and then they caught a taxi together.
Yeah, to go, instead of getting on the train, she's pretty spooked at this point, as you would be if you're nearly run over by a train. But like they get this taxi together and they have a real heart to heart, and she's like, I thought about letting the train hit me and that sort of thing, and so they're just having this really beautiful moment together, and they finally meet, and so at the end of this taxi ride, he asks her out, and then Benji appears out of nowhere, like, oh, let's go upstairs and have a little bit of adult fun.
Yeah, and then he's like, he sees the opportunity to take her phone, and then he couldn't find her phone, so he took that opportunity to say, hey, give me your email address, was it?
Yeah. It was like,
so
she can't find her, because he asks her out, and he's like, give me your number, and she says she can't find her phone, so he's like, all right, well, give me your email address then, we'll chat via email.
Mm-hmm.
So she gives him her email address. This is when things start getting really good.
Oh, yeah. That's when he has access to basically her entire life. Her mum pays for the phone bill, so she ends up going out to get her own new phone because she doesn't have the heart to tell her mum that she's lost another phone. And
yeah, she keeps losing phones and asking her mum to get a new one, so she decides to just get her own phone by herself this time.
So this is kind of when you know that there's something going on with her, like life at home, about how her parents or her mother was more so.
Yeah, because at the beginning she tells us that her dad's passed away.
That's right.
She says that her dad's dead and it's just her and her mum, but her mum's really, really poor. She's at an Ivy League school, but she's got a scholarship, so she's really, really poor, but she's in a good school, so she feels a bit left out and that sort of thing. So yeah.
She's got daddy troubles.
yeah, she's got daddy issues, but that might be why she chooses really bad men and bad friends.
It does definitely psychologically does lead to that. Unfortunately for a lot of people, and I think that's also like the older men situation as well can come into that as well, and you kind of get to know I guess a bit about how she emails her friends. So like I think Joe goes through a lot of her emails and stuff, and then he's so furious because she didn't mention seeing him at the bookshop. Do you remember that, Karen? Like, I was like,
yeah, like he's really annoyed because she doesn't remember. She says she recognizes him, but she doesn't remember where she knows him from.
Yeah, but then she's like, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
But
I know you from the bookshop, but when she's emailing her friends, she doesn't say, "Oh my god, the guy from the bookshop saved my life." She's just like, "Oh, I nearly died."
I have to get my charger. No,
we're taking a momentary break for technological issues. But
it was like
you can just look at my cat for a little while.
Where's the hole?
Yeah. That's what she said.
Oh,
I'm so funny.
Why don't you love me? Oh, look, there's a receipt.
So yeah, Joe is really, really like offended that. Hi, Kitty. Hi, Candace. Hi, pretty girl. Hello. She's so fluffy.
She is, but she's like she looks grumpy.
Well, you disturbed her slumber.
She was awake. Oh, my angel tits. Yeah, so it's... Yeah, so he was a bit peed off about that factor that, oh, well, why isn't she saying this and that about me? Why didn't she mention...
And she was still talking about Benji. She was still really annoyed about Benji not treating her right. So she was telling her friends about Benji and not really mentioning this guy from the bookshop. So he was really, really peeved.
That's right, yeah. So, I mean, he's like, but that's okay. You will soon, sort of thing. And it's like, dude, chill for a sec. That's the moment that you're like, okay, now I kind of realize what annoying people like. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they constantly message people and they don't get a response back in like 20 minutes, so they've got to message them another 5,000 times. So, yeah, that was the bit I was probably starting to take a step back from Joe and being like, dude, just chill for a bit. Like, A, you're doing something wrong, and B, you know, like you wouldn't know otherwise either if you didn't have her phone and email, so why is it bothering you now that you can see what she's saying?
But, well, it continues, and eventually he emails her and asks her out, and she says yes.
Yeah.
So he's all thrilled about that. And they have the weirdest date. Like, is that when they go to the diner and he makes her lay down with her eyes closed for no reason? And she's like, why did you do that?
The tension part where they were so close, and her head was so close to his privates, and
yeah, like he was like, lay down for me, like an order, and so she did, and he told her to close her eyes. And what did he do? He just went and stood near her or something.
And sat down near her head or something like that.
Yeah, and he was like, she can smell my penis. And it made her hungry. Like, she can smell my penis and it made her hungry. And I'm like, okay. No.
Oh my God. And then it was like, yeah, so then that was when you're like, she was like, no, but I'm going to play hard to get.
Yeah, he was like, I could follow her upstairs and I could have her, but I'm not going to on the first date because, you know, I want her to want me. You know that phrase, always leave them wanting more? Joe sort of did that on the first date.
He did, yeah. He's like playing hard to get no matter how much he wanted her. It was so funny. Like, it
was hilarious.
Yeah, and it was like interesting to hear or read that's what he was thinking, and you're like, oh my gosh. But then isn't that when there was the hint of Candace? Not my cat, but the hint of Candace. Somewhere along that line is the hint of
I think it must have been around there.
Yeah, something about the past girlfriend.
Yeah, because he was saying how he knew it wouldn't work out with Candace, but Beck was the one. She was different.
Yeah, and something about the overprotectiveness of Candace's brother, and that's pretty much the same with Peaches being also, I guess, protective of her. Yeah.
And then he go, oh, we haven't told them about the cage.
Oh my God, yes. So there is a cage underneath the bookshop.
Yeah, like in the basement, they've made a cage. Like, they've constructed this cage, and it is huge. And it's where they store all their really rare and valuable books. Some of them first edition, some of them are signed.
Yeah, and Mr. Mooney,
and it's like soundproof.
Yeah, Mr. Mooney created it's like a basement of some sorts, and they've put the cage down there. But then after Mr. Mooney constructed this, because I think Joe was 17 when he started working there, and they constructed the soundproofing and everything like that. But he also...
And it's temperature controlled.
Yeah. But he also locked in that cage when he was younger, when he did something bad or something?
Yeah, Joe accidentally sold a really rare first edition book for like that he shouldn't have sold for either a silly amount of low money, or he sold something he shouldn't have. And Mr. Mooney locked poor Joe in the cage for like, was it like 3 days?
Yeah, I think it was.
He was
But
like
Joe first
17.
tried to find it.
Yeah, and then Joe
Mhm.
went out trying to find the person who he sold it to so he could get it back, but he never manages to.
Right, yeah. So he
But
learned.
like, even his father figure, Mr. Mooney, like abuses him and treats him like crap sometimes.
I honestly thought that that character would lead to a pedophilia style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's how I felt that it was going to lead as soon as it started off with the cage situation. I thought he was abused in another way, firstly,
Mhm.
from Mr. Mooney, but it didn't end up leading that way.
No, it didn't. Which
Yeah.
is good because that's sad. When you read that in books, it's sad.
It is sad because it justifies, well, not justifies it, but nobody was able to catch that and lead him on a better path. Someone that should
Mhm.
have led him on a better path may
There
have.
was nobody there just for Joe. There was no one there who loved him, who cared for him, who treated him properly, and tell him that this isn't okay.
That's right, yeah. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle of, I guess, an abuse kind of way and a
Mhm.
different mentality thought, and it would continue on if he was to obviously have kids or something like that. That's something that you want to stop at A before it gets to Z, you know?
Mhm.
But I mean, we don't obviously know what everything's going to lead to just yet, but we will continue this. But yes, the cage. Oh my God, how did we forget the
Okay,
cage?
one, I want a cage. Who doesn't want a cage? Oh, this person has been really horrible to me today. Into the cage you go.
Our cats would end up leading us into this cage. You know that.
They probably would. How is your cat planning to kill you? By sending me to the cage.
Pretty much, yeah. Be like, how would you like to like crap in a box of kitty litter? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, that's so funny. But
But after his date with Beck, he goes into his cage and he shuts all the doors and he masturbates furiously looking over these rare books.
yeah, that's right. And thinking of their life together or something like
Yeah.
that. And
But
that
I
is,
imagine myself inside you.
yeah, things like that. It kind of continues in ways like that. Like, well, I can't have you, but I can think about you and our life together and what we're going to do and the houses we're going to have and this cage and these books will be yours when it's mine and when Mr. Mooney goes and things like that. And it was like, well, okay, he's going for the future. He's got his mind set. He just doesn't want to tell anyone else that is part
Yeah.
of that future that as well. So
At this point, Mr. Mooney has sort of semi-retired. He still owns the shop, but he lets Joe run it. So Joe pretty much has free reign and free access to this cage, and there's only one other worker in this little teeny tiny bookshop, which is a young lad called Curtis,
oh
who
yeah,
pretty much arrives late all the time, smokes a lot of weed, and does very little else.
he doesn't even help the customers. Like
No.
he's rude to them or he doesn't help them and stuff like that. This guy does play some kind of role to this story as well in a certain part, which I love about that. Like it's good that they keep you guessing and then they will take a character that you think is gone like out of the book no more, like whatever. Can't even speak today. And then all of a sudden, like a little bit further down, a few more chapters, boom, he appears again. And it's
like the unexpected twist. It's like it's not something everyone could see coming.
I didn't think he would be like that. Why
No,
did he?
I didn't.
I was just like, all right. But then I'm like, kick his ass.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on there? But I think after the date, they try to reschedule another one, and that's when she starts to stop emailing him, and I think he refers things back to it's been 7 hours and 50. What is that? The Prince song?
He's like it's been 7 hours, 3 minutes and 5 days since you last emailed me.
Because
or
it was
since
like
I replied to your email.
Of the song by Prince, I think.
Yeah.
Was it by Prince?
I think it was.
The beginning line of that a certain song, and he had said that, and then Joe keeps using that line, and he starts counting everything down, and but you're
he uses that throughout the entire book from now on.
Sorry?
He uses that like throughout the entire book from then on.
Which I like that they use that, like he just it's like it was actually him, and this is what he's decided to use now because it's his mind, and that was great. Instead of the writer forgetting that that's what this character is now doing, she actually continues it, which is
it shows how obsessive Joe's mind is, like how he fixates on one particular thing and he will keep rolling with it. It shows how he just like focuses on something and it consumes his mind almost.
That's right. Like it just makes it a bit more realistic when something like that happens, when they continue that same mindset along. I've read a certain amount of books where they will kind of forget how that person's mind's meant to think. So then later on with another point of view, it's kind of like a bit different and not exactly to how it was in the first place. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, good. Because I'm like, I don't know what am I saying? I don't know. But yeah, so
it's a good continuity thing.
Yeah, this one continues on over and over, chapter after chapter, and I think it's because it's mainly in his point of view, what is in his point of view, that it's so much easier to continue it. But he starts to feel a bit, I think he kind of triggers into a more aggressive person when she doesn't write back, or she'll like, be like, oh yeah, let's schedule this date, and then she'll be like, oh, actually I've got to do something for school, and then he finds out that she's actually on a date with Benji, or
she's like emailing her friends like, Joe is sweet but he's no Benji and I want Benji, and it's like he's gradually getting more and more irritated that she keeps choosing Benji over him, even though he's a knob and Joe is lovely and perfect and loves her
and pays attention to her.
Yep. And it's at that point he decides he has to sort out Benji.
Yeah, so he decides to, I guess, email Benji pretending it was a phone call, wasn't it? About, I'm someone from this food review critic or book
Benji owns a company selling an alcoholic drink called Home Soda. So he's sort of in the culinary field. This drink is massively popular. He's one of those snooty little rich kids who thinks he's got it all. He's entitled. Everything he's ever wanted in life is bought for him. So he's never had real responsibility. He's basically like a man-child.
Yes, definitely. So Joe pretends that he is some kind of critic and saying, hey, meet me at this bookshop, which is, of course, Joe being Joe, and it's his
this bookshop's got a little cafe in it and we can sit there and have coffee and talk about your drinks and becoming a feature in our website or something like that.
Right, so he ends up, this is while Benji was meant to be going to meet up with Beck for a little date thing, and then he ends up calling it off with Beck and saying, oh, there's something going on for the company, was it?
Yeah. I've got this massive work thing that I can't get out of.
Right, and so he goes and meets up with Joe. So he doesn't recognize Joe, which is strange because he saw him in the taxi, didn't he?
I guess he was paying more attention on Beck because, like, I don't know, she kept him waiting or something.
Right, yeah, a bit lusty. But that's when I guess he spikes water because he didn't end up giving him coffee. He gave him something else.
Was it like a Coke or a Pepsi or something? And he spikes it with some sort of thing, sedative that makes him, or not sedative, but some sort of medication that makes him sleepy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was definitely something along those lines. So then that's when he takes him to the cage downstairs.
Oh.
That's why the cage is so crucial, because he doesn't kill him. He, I
We
guess,
kidnapped him.
he kidnaps him. He puts him in the cage, but this is where it twists around with your head when he tries to educate him.
Yeah, he's
A
given
better
Benji
person.
he's given Benji these quizzes and these tests to try and make him a better person, and he's asking him, "What are your 5 favorite books?" And so Benji lists these 5 books,
And
and
he
then it
quizzes.
turns out he's never read them.
That's right.
So Joe quizzes him on these books and realizes he's never read them. Oh, but Benji's actually got lots of dietary problems as well. Like he's lactose intolerant, so he has to have soy, and he's allergic to peanuts as well.
He just
So
like,
he's been
yeah, he was like kidnapped, but he was making all these requests.
yeah, he was like, I need a coffee soy with caramel or something.
And I need organic free range chicken. I can't. Are you sure this is free range? Don't lie to me.
Like,
I'll know
excuse me,
brands. It's
you're
not
the
gonna kill you.
victim. Stop demanding.
But still, Joe kind of gave him rewards and stuff like that when he did do something good. And that's when he decided, hey, let's test you on your products as well, because
Yeah.
making you a better person obviously involves your business too. And pours, I think, 3 cups of different drinks that he doesn't
Yeah,
know.
it's like 3 cups, and 2 of them are different products, and one of them is Benji's home soda product. And
But then,
during the time Benji is in the cage, he's tweeting from Benji's account. He's stolen Benji's phone, and he's tweeting from his account, portraying him as like having gone on a lad's holiday, and he's getting high and drunk, and he's doing all these things. He's taking all these drugs. So every few days he'll tweet and say something like "best time ever," high off my face, and then he tweeted a picture of this girl called Amanda, who
yes,
was
yeah.
like absolutely gorgeous and stunning, and she was pretty much naked. So he tweeted her and said, "Away with this lovely thing" or something.
Yeah, and then
So
Beck's like,
people didn't get suspicious that Benji was missing.
yeah, so Beck was, it was actually pretty smart of him to do that, because he was
Yeah.
also in the female situation, so that Beck can kind of turn around and say, well, fuck you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so she was emailing her friends saying, well, this is what Benji's doing, so you know what, he can go F himself, and all that kind of stuff. So, Joe was kind of killing 2 birds with one stone there, and I thought that was really, really smart of him. Like, he
Yeah,
ever
really clever.
made himself sound like Benji with certain tricks and stuff. He just had to be the opposite of himself, I guess.
It takes like if somebody goes missing, normally the police are called, families are notified, yada yada yada. But because he was still tweeting, the police don't suspect anything, and he has been on a road with drugs and alcohol and drink, and alcohol and drink are the same thing. But he's been on this downward path before, so it made it all the more believable that he
So,
was doing it again.
which is pretty smart, because I mean, if something accidentally happened, people would just think, hey, it was an OD or something like that. So he really did plan things out without fully planning it out. I think he did this on a whim, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
So he continued trying to get back in Beck's life now that Benji was away from him. And
Benji failed the drink test, by the way. He decided they all tasted like crap. He was like, they all taste like shit.
and they were all his drinks.
Yep, they were all home soda.
But
Hashtag
that
home soda.
hashtag.
It's really funny. This book is also hilarious because it takes the mickey, it takes the piss. I don't know if takes the mickey is used abroad, but it's like takes the piss out of hashtags and social media and stuff. Because he's tweeting all these things like hashtag home soda, and it's really funny.
I was laughing so hard. I'm like, for someone that doesn't tweet and stuff, he sure knew how to hashtag, and
it was so funny.
I think he was just like, well, Benji's a douchebag, so all I have to do is be a douchebag.
So many hashtags. That's what a douchebag does.
Yeah, hashtag douchebag.
I need a t-shirt with hashtag home soda on it.
Oh my god, imagine that. That would be so freaking funny. But I mean, I think around that time, Dr. Nikki is kind of introduced in some ways in
basically Beck's got a
therapist and psychologist or whatnot, and yeah, she decides to, isn't that when she decides to sort of break away from a lot of people and focus on her writing?
Yeah, she's sort of seeing Joe. She invites him to go to IKEA with her, which is a magical moment. No, don't they go to Peach's party as well?
I think they go to Peach's party first, or
did they do it on the same day?
First, or with IKEA? Because I remember with IKEA, he was the last resort, but he didn't really care. And then he went to IKEA with her, and she basically just wanted anyone to go with her because, well, that's when you know what sort of person Beck kind of is. She'll just take anybody to help her. And
she's not fussy with her men.
Yes. And she finds herself actually enjoying it though. So she's very conflicted in herself. Like, she knows that Joe's the right one for her, but she still prefers a guy that's going to fix her issues in some ways, like the daddy issues, the money thing, and everything like that. So that's when Joe helps create a bed for her, but then that's when Peach comes around.
I think they must have done the party at Peach's first then, because Peach recognises Joe from the party, doesn't she? Because he helps her assemble her new bed from IKEA, and they're about to make either love on the bed, and then Peach turns up and recognises him.
Yes.
So the party must be first.
Yeah, that's right. So that's when he finds out about all her issues with her stomach and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Peach. She makes up all these issues. Like, she says she's got a sensitive bladder or a cystitis thing. And so she can't eat anything unless it's organic. And she has to only have the best alcohol. And she has to have the best chocolate. And she has to have pear. And she can only eat certain food and drink if she lines her stomach with expensive cheeses and pears first.
Of course. And then on top of all that, she goes running a lot. Thank you, Peach, for going running.
Yeah, she runs like every day, so she's like mega fit and healthy, and
she helps make Joe pretty fit too. So, but we'll get to that in a second.
Hashtag spoilers.
Hashtag running. Oh my god, that's so funny. Why do people do that?
I don't know.
Oh my god, hashtag kitty cats. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and then they go to the party, and Joe makes a good impression on Peach. And so
room. Isn't that when he goes to her room?
Or is that when he breaks in later on?
He breaks in? No, he breaks in like after.
It's when later on. It's when she has someone who's broken into her flat. So Beck and Joe go around, and he's inspecting her flat to try and find out how this intruder got in. And he comes across the pictures.
The pictures. BFFs.
So basically, throughout the rest of, like, the next few chapters, Beck and Joe have a few little dates, but she's still not all that interested. She doesn't see it really going anywhere. She's still pining for Benji, even though Benji's off on his lad's holiday getting high and drunk, aka sitting in the cage. Yeah. And so that's all fun and games. And then Benji fails pretty much all of his tests, and so Joe decides it is time.
I don't believe you being allergic to nuts, so we're going to bloody find out.
Yeah, he was, because he didn't quite believe everything that Benji said about his dietary issues, thinking he was just being a posh snob. So he put peanut oil in this guy's coffee, and Benji dies.
And then he's like, he doesn't even, like, it doesn't even say, like, oh, he's dead. It was more like, oh, and it turns out he was right.
Yeah, turns out he was allergic to nuts. Who knew? Whoopsie!
Oh, whoops, that happened. I'm, like, actually trying to get up to the bit that we're, like, pretty much, like, up to. I was, like, trying to make, like, look through the book.
Must keep scrolling.
Scroll!
And then Joe is like, oh, I'm going to do a home cremation. So he just puts Benji in his oven, trying to cremate this body.
Like, in the backyard, he, like, Googled it or something, didn't he?
Yeah. He, like, Googled how to cremate a body at home.
Like, all right, cool.
So he cremates his body and he takes it back to IKEA saying it's a return. So, if any of you need to hide a body out there, go to your local IKEA. No, don't. I'm not being serious. Please don't hide a body in IKEA. Please.
He does say hide it in IKEA, doesn't he? In, like, the box.
Does. Yeah, he, like, takes the box back and says it's a return.
But does he get money back for the return? I don't even know.
I don't remember whether he gets money, but I remember him being because he charmed the guy. He was like, oh, you know, I've been working and no pay, and because he charms the guy into helping him. So this guy thinks it's a return of, like, a mixer or something. So this guy's like, oh yeah, let me just take this dead body from you.
But he's like, I'm not even sure if, like, he goes, oh, but I wouldn't recommend the at-home cremation because it's still got some lumpy bits in it.
Yeah. Like a badly mashed potato.
But wouldn't they open it up and then, like, DNA test, like, the bones and stuff?
I don't really know. I don't know whether it just gets incinerated or...
That's when Benji, before that, admits that he's a klepto. And
oh, yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, go use my locker key.
Yeah, that's right. Because then he also, before he dies, he sort of explains a few things about Beck as well. Like, oh, you know, go for the spoon or the ladle or something at IKEA.
Yeah, like the red ladle.
He goes onto this website. What is it? The trading one? That ads thing, and she like keeps all these crazy sex ads from people that are extreme. Oh, what was it called?
I don't remember.
The ads, like,
but he's really proud because she doesn't advertise on Craigslist to have sex.
That's right.
He keeps going back and saying, but at least she doesn't use Craigslist, which is really funny.
But you learn sort of in between it all about how, I don't know, like a bit more about Bex, a bit more about Benji, a bit more about Peaches in between all this. And then you kind of get sneak peeks of his previous relationship as well amongst it all, about Candace, how protective her brother was of her. But they kind of just give hints and stuff like they were actually in a relationship, which I actually enjoyed Caroline doing that because you actually believed he was in a relationship with Candace.
Yeah.
Which was great.
There's only little tiny snippets of Candace, so it's enough to give you some information, but it's not enough, so you keep wanting more of it. You're like, who is Candace? What happened?
That's why we ended up skipping a couple, like not skipping, but instead of stopping at 12, for example, someone kept going.
Kept reading. We got to the last few chapters, like, I can't remember what. We were like, oh, let's read up to chapter 30. And then you messaged me and you're like, whoops, finished it. I laughed so much.
I'm like, you're going to hate me, but I may have kind of finished the book.
Hashtag whoopsie. But I just thought it was hilarious. It was brilliant.
I'm like, I'm so sorry.
It was too good. I couldn't stop.
I didn't know what happened. I'm like, seriously? I'm like, I just kept going and going and going, and I didn't even register the chapters, and then it just kept going in, and then this thing happened, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what happened? Whoa, like just kept going. And I think ebook's so much more difficult because you just don't ever know where the chapters are. Like it just happens, and then you're like, oh, the end. So about that.
So by the way, Kerry, I might have accidentally finished. And like, I remember reading that message, and I was like, "Oh, thank God," because I really want to finish it. Like, yes, now I can finish.
Every time we're like, "What chapter do you want to go up to?" And I'm like, "Well, can we go up to this chapter?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure, no worries." And secretly, I'm like, "Can we go further?" I know I'm not going to stop.
And then you didn't stop, and I was relieved because it was so good. I think the last like 10 chapters or so you just couldn't finish. You have to read the last 10 chapters at once because things keep happening.
And it just kept throwing you all these little twists and turns and mountains, and you get over that mountain and then you see something like in the distance and you're like, oh my God, no, sorry. Goodbye social life. I'm going that way. So
like at one point later on, when Joe and Beck enter into an official relationship, they're a couple, and then she just disappears off the face of the planet. She stops calling him, she stops messaging him. After they have sex for the first time, she just disappears. Oh, their first
purely ejaculate.
Yeah, their first attempt at sex was hilarious. He lasted about 12 seconds apparently, and she didn't enjoy it. And then they have sex again in the cage, and then it lasts about 10 seconds again. And then she just disappears off the face of the planet. She doesn't message, she doesn't email, she doesn't talk to him, anything like that, and he doesn't know why. And then something happens, like he fires Curtis earlier on because Curtis told, we've skipped over the festival where he dressed up and followed her.
Yes, and then we find out that her father isn't dead. What?
Dun dun dun.
Well, WTF.
Yeah, like turns out she lied about her dad being dead because he's really, really wealthy, married to a lawyer with his new family, and she's really, really annoyed by that. And she told everyone in her hometown that he was dead, so she can't exactly go back on it now. So, yeah, but she goes to this festival all dressed up, and he starts giving her money, like her dad starts giving her money and stuff to go to this festival with them, and that sort of thing. And so Joe follows her because he's like, who is this strange man who's giving her money? And then she's getting into his car and dressing up. Like, is she being paid for some kinky, raunchy things? Like, so he follows her, but no, it's just her dad. And they go to this Darwinian festival, all dressed up in Darwinian clothing, and have candy apples, and
they're on a boat and stuff like that. Yeah, and then he starts freaking out, like, going on this boat, like she's gonna catch me and stuff. Like, these are all things that he's never done before, but because of Beck, he was willing to do it. Mm-hmm.
And then Beck's new mum, like Beck's new stepmom, starts hitting on Joe, and Joe's like, nah, mate, you're old and you ugly.
Yeah, just basically to, like, give her one, basically, for Beck's sake without being for Beck.
Yeah, she was... Yeah, so she was hitting on him, and he was like, nah, not interested, mate. Thanks, but no thanks. And she gets really offended. And then calls her husband over, and Joe is like, Beck's going to catch me. She's going to catch me. She's going to know I was following her. But he manages to get away safely. And then Beck shows up at his house in the middle of the night, sobbing.
1,000 times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she keeps trying to call him like 1,000,001 times. Yeah, it's just before they get together.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not answering because she spotted me, this and that crap's going to happen. Is that when he throws the typewriter at the wall?
Might be. Yeah, it must be, because that's... Yeah. He collects typewriters that people throw out onto the street. He doesn't buy them, he just finds them and he takes them home and he gives them names.
Yeah. I was like looking at what we're up to on here, which is good. Haha. I'm trying to cheat. Oh god, I'm like way behind. We're like so out of order. It's so funny because we're like
I know.
jumping
We're
to one.
just getting so excited about things that happen.
I know, because like, oh my god, but then we've got like another crucial part and then we're like, oh my god. So, oh wow. I'm like, I really want to reread this book. I would reread this book over and over again, which is amazing. Oh, that's right. Their first real date. Forgot about their first real date when he takes her in the carriage and he fingers her.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Hashtag finger.
I'm nearly 22 and I'm laughing at the word fingers.
So immature. Oh dear.
But yeah, so Benji tells not Benji, Benji's dead. Curtis, who works at the second-hand bookshop with Joe, tells Bet where to find Joe, like where his flat is. So she turns up in his flat in the middle of the night sobbing. And then she goes in and they have a big chat and she reveals how she lied to him about her dad being dead, and they have this massive heart-to-heart and it's all sweet and lovely.
Yeah.
And she eventually falls asleep with, like, not, they don't have sex, she eventually just falls asleep cuddling him.
But he's like freaking out because he's got like pieces of their like panties left, right, and center, and
yeah, like there's a pair of her worn panties between the cushions where she's asleep, and her bikini top is hanging on the back of the door, and oh god, what was another one? Like her half-drunk drink that her lips have touched is still in the fridge.
That's when you kind of like, there's certain bits like that that you're like, maybe he's not the best one.
Yeah, like maybe we shouldn't be rooting for this guy.
Yes.
So when she wakes up, she ends up going for a shower, and he is terrified she's going to find all these things that he's stolen from her, effectively.
Mm-hmm.
So he's freaking out, and he blames Curtis in the shop. He's like, this wouldn't have happened if Curtis didn't tell her where I lived. This is all his fault. It's not because I'm a creepy stalker. I'm all innocent. It's all Curtis's fault.
Yeah, like, oh, she's stalking me. Like, she wants me, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And he has
like, she could have gone to anyone, and she went to me.
And she's got the criminal shower curtains.
Oh yeah, there's a shower curtain. It's clear except for the police warning tape over the private part.
And it was so appropriate, like,
so brilliant.
And it was like,
I loved it.
Because then he goes into the little bit of the past bit where he was choosing a curtain, which was brilliant because it just was so random, but it was perfectly fitting into it because you needed that little bit of a distraction to sort of
it's great because it's so tense, but she throws in random bits of humour that just ease you a little bit, and so it doesn't ever get too much.
It's crazy, and yet he has these police line shower curtains. Like, it's so funny.
So he goes and he punches Curtis in the face.
Yes.
And then he fires him.
Saying stuff about Beck. Like, he was being so gentlemanlike in a way. And Curtis was like, he's really hot. I thought it was okay, blah, blah, blah. You better have screwed her or some shit like that. And then...
yeah, like Curtis is being really vulgar.
Yeah, but then it was kind of like really good that he punched him in the face because that's when you started rooting for Joe again.
Yeah.
And then that's when, so Curtis got fired. And I think
punched in the face.
Yeah. Which was like, yeah, you did. And then that's when you think Curtis is gone from the book. So keep that one in mind before he comes up later in the chapters.
And he starts wanting new help, new people to come and shop, like work in the shop.
Yes, but he does offer Beck a job, remember? And he's like thinking, oh, this is awesome. You know, like, I'm your boss and I can screw you in the cage. And
And then there's also that other guy as well. Was it Eunice? Can't remember where we met him.
Which one?
There's that other really, really happy chipper guy who comes to work in the shop sometimes part-time. But yeah, so Curtis is gone and punched in the face. And then he disappears, and we think that's the end. But is it?
Isn't that the part also before that happens? Well, just after that happens, that's when Joe finds the pictures at Peach's house.
Yes, because Peach at this point is playing a really prominent role. Because every time Beck and Joe are supposed to meet up, Peaches calls Beck and is like, "Oh, it's an emergency. Something's happened. You need to come over right away."
No, bitch.
Yeah.
You wish.
Yeah. So like things keep happening and Peach keeps getting Beck over and Beck keeps cancelling on Joe. So Peach is gradually like wearing Joe down and Joe is like, this needs to stop. So someone
he's running with her.
Oh yeah, someone breaks into her house and she's like, "Oh, Beck, I've got a stalker. You have to come over and comfort me." And Beck was out with Joe at the time. So Joe goes over to Peach's place as well, and Joe is like, "Do you want me to check out your flat to make sure it's safe for you and no one can get in?" And Peach is like, "Yeah, that would be okay, thanks." But she's not very happy with Joe for some reason we don't quite know yet. And then he's going around her room and he's investigating and he's searching for things and he finds a little box. And inside that little box, there's nude pictures of Beck.
Ooh. So he decides to use his...
After masturbating furiously.
Sorry?
He masturbates in Peach's... Peaches? Yeah, he masturbates in Peach's room over these pictures and then he like finishes inside a pair of her underwear or something.
Funny.
And he's noticing that these naked pictures have got womanly juices all over them. So Peach has been masturbating over these pictures. And we find out that Peach is actually in love with Beck.
Pretty much. This is how twisted it gets. It's like boom, boom, boom.
So Peach is in love with Beck, and that's why she's trying to keep Joe and Beck apart.
So he decides then, he's so mad, he's just so sick of Peach, he decides to run.
We're all sick of Peach at this point. We're like, kill the bitch.
Just get rid of her. Like, seriously,
we don't like her. And then you start rooting for Joe. You're like, yes, Joe, kill her. We don't like her. She's not very nice. So we're siding with this psychopathic murderer.
And so that's when he starts running. And then there's this one day that he's just like, that is it. It's happening. And she's running like she's such a bitch that we're still like, just run faster, Joe, because she's got Elton John blaring out of her phone loudspeaker, not her headphones. So everybody's pretty much pissed about it. Everyone. She's just like, I don't give no fucks. And then he runs and runs faster. And it's like early morning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite early.
And then
he's just running in the woods, and he's like, "Why are you in the woods on your own when you're a young woman
and have a stalker?" And then it's like that was when it happened, and he ran and bolted, and then grabbed her, and I'm like, "Oh my god, it's happening! This is the best part of this story." And slams her head down on a rock, or he slams her head down and then grabs a rock. Can't remember.
Something like that, but she gets away that time.
Yes, and then she told bitches about the balloon he sent, a get well soon balloon.
Oh, I know, like, she got away, and she went to the hospital, and so Joe was like, I'm going to be nice, I'm going to send her a balloon with a smiley face on it. And she was like, oh, that was so insensitive, there's nothing to smile about, why are you doing this? Why are you so insensitive, Joe? And Beck takes her side. So at this point, we're starting to hate Beck as well.
Yes, and starts acting like her.
She starts copying Peach, and we're sitting there and we're like, Beck, you're gonna die. You deserve to die too. Why are you doing this to Joe? Why are you hurting him?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I think that happened before the costume one happened.
Mm. Like,
Oh my god, we
why are
should
you
have.
hurting Joe? Joe is our baby. Why are you hurting him? How
I know
dare you?
it even said that her voice wasn't even her own. It was
Peaches.
Peach's voice for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I guess after everything like that happened, and God, this phone is so slow. Like almost. Sorry, I'm almost reading the book again.
But yeah, so Joe and Beck start dating and seeing each other seriously, and then for some reason Beck disappears off the face of the planet, stops messaging Joe, and she goes on holiday with Peach to
I'll see
Elsie. That's it.
you.
I don't know.
But
It's
then
like
also,
winter. It's right near Christmas, but it's warm there.
yes, that's right. And they're in a holiday house that's a mansion, and um, that's also around that time between those two events is when you also found out um, that Candace didn't really die of a body surfing accident. So it
Mhm.
was kind of like mind blown because that's when you first get this. So you're telling me, Joe, that you did this before, like, which
Mhm.
is crazy, like, because you just get this normal thing of your life, and then boom, there's his past brought up, and it just blows your mind because it's
Mhm. It's like you start to realize just how deranged Joe is, but you still love him and root for him
yeah,
because these people are irritating and horrible, and you're like, you deserve to die.
and
If you
obviously
weren't such a bitch, you
still
wouldn't die.
alive. Peach is still alive. We need someone to kill her. That's
Mhm.
why it's like this is why we were saying at the beginning how insane it is to have Kerry as a psychology forensic student for us to both root for the guy that's not quite there because it's kind of like we
Yeah.
should.
It's like you're rooting for the villain, but you don't see him as a villain because he's like the good guy. It
Yes,
plays with your mind.
it does. It definitely does. But I think that's also when he decides I'm gonna go up there, and that's when he's still reading the emails from uh, Beck's friends who are actually rooting for Joe
Yeah,
themselves.
Beck's friends Lynn and Shanna are like, oh, you need to call Joe. If you miss him, just call Joe. Joe's a nice guy. He treats you well. Call him. But Peach is like, nah, you don't need to call him. You just need to come on holiday with me. Don't you dare call Joe. You're strong. You can do it.
I can't handle your friends, blah blah blah. And then
Mm.
that's when Curtis reappears. Dum dum
Yep.
dum.
It basically ends on a chapter where this masked guy attacks Joe, punches him, beats him up with a group of friends, and Joe recognizes the trainers as Curtis's. And it
Mm-hmm.
ends on a chapter and we think he's dead because we think he's been beaten to death. And you're like, whoa, you can't stop here. Is Joe dead? Is he alive?
I know. And then that's when he's like, you know what? No, I'm gonna drive to LC like I planned to originally.
Hmm. I'm
because
going to follow Beck because she needs me.
because when she needs me, I'm gonna be there.
Because he's under the impression that she's going to call him. So he thinks if he goes up there, he'll be there quicker for her.
That's right.
So,
That's not weird.
because Beck really wants to talk to him and she keeps almost caving and then Peach convinces her not to. So
That's
he goes up and he has a car accident. He hits a deer. This deer
that's
steps out in front of the car.
but it's still funny though because even though he kind of ends up finding where he's so determined that he's been
Hmm.
beaten up, he's been in a car accident, and he's still freaking walking to her house that was like kilometers and kilometers away,
Yep.
and he still manages to like sort of spot her, and then he goes into the neighbor's boathouse and then gets woken up by a cop, and he charms the cop.
Yeah, this cop is like, oi, mate, are you trying to rob these people or are you trying to get some pictures of some celebrities or what's happened? And Joe's like, no, I've had a car accident. I was like disorientated. I didn't know where I was. I just wanted to get out of the snow because it's in the middle of winter at this point. So Joe is like, oh no, I just had a car accident. And so this police officer takes him to the hospital. And basically, Joe lies his way out of it.
But he's also funny, like, have you been drinking, sir? And he's like, I don't know, ask the deer that freaking ran out in front of my car. I was like, laughing so hard at that bit. But Ethan is the guy he hired.
Yeah.
To look after the bookshop, and he's just such a sweet guy.
I can't remember where he met him from.
Met him?
Well, like, where did Ethan come from? Where did Joe meet him to hire him?
He came into the shop as he handed in his resume because he put his stuff on the, what is it? I think it was, he advertised it. Yeah, I think it was just an advertisement that he put up on the window, and Ethan showed up for an interview and everything, and he hires him.
Ethan's a lovely guy.
Yes.
Ethan's really sweet. Like, even though Joe is a complete arsehole to him, because Joe, like, gets grumpy and snaps at him, Ethan just is really nice. He's so lovely, and he's polite, and he really helps at the bookshop.
And Evan,
so, yeah, we like Ethan.
Yeah, he was rude to a customer, and Joe was rude to the customer, and Ethan was like, oh, we do apologize, blah, 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 and helped the lady out, and then was still so nice, to Joe. And it was like, oh my God, I love you, Joe.
We really like Ethan. Ethan's one of the only likable characters in this book.
I think he is. I think that, like, Caroline got to the point where she's like, all right, let's put a character in it that nobody wants dead.
Yeah, just let's make a change and have someone that we want to keep alive.
That's right. So, I mean, so he's looking after the shop. So Joe pretty much already trusts him and thinks of him as, like, I guess what would the word be? Like not a son, almost a friend, I would say, a guy that admires Joe. So a protege, would it be called?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's when so Ethan's at the shop helping out, which is great, while or does Joe shut down the business? I don't remember.
Joe, doesn't he close shop for like just a couple of days because he was only supposed to be away for like a long weekend?
Yes.
So he drives up, and then he's in this hospital, and this moment in hospital and the exchange with the police officers is so funny. You are giggling your way through it.
Oh my God.
He lies his way out of it, and then he goes and he breaks into Peach's summer home.
Oh my God, remember that? Yeah. It is so funny. He breaks into the home, and he basically, I think he has a shower, doesn't he?
He has a shower, and then he masturbates and jizzes in a cup.
He pees in a cup.
Oh, he pees in it, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, because he has a cup of coffee. Then he follows. Yeah. Then he realizes that the girls have come back early than he expected. So then he hides in a cupboard, and he's got his empty coffee cup in his hand, and he has to pee so badly, and he pees in the cup. But he left the cup in the cupboard.
Oh, the pee?
Yeah. And, I mean, you haven't started Hidden Bodies yet, have you?
No, not yet.
It's pretty funny because there's a mention of that at the beginning. So you need to like this. It was so funny because I'm like, that damn cup. It's mentioned.
Yeah, so
I loved how it was mentioned, and I'm like, that's why I remember it, because I've got like 10% into that Hidden Bodies, and I'm like, oh my God, that cup. So yeah, and he manages to escape yet again. So
he goes and hides outside. Like, this summer home is basically all windows. It's really modern, and there's windows everywhere, so he can see inside pretty much everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
So he's watching this. He's watching the house and what they're doing inside.
Yeah. So it's so freaking amazing, like how clever Joe is. Like, he has the ability to be so much more than who he is, because of how smart he is, he doesn't need to
He doesn't even realise he's doing smart things. They just happen.
Yeah,
Like he doesn't think, oh, I need to do this to get the police off my off my tail. He does it because he thinks, oh, this is going to help me get with Beck.
that's right. Yeah, he's so completely determined.
And it's like he doesn't think about being smart. All he thinks about is Beck and things that will help him with Beck. He's so consumed by her.
Well, yeah, he's consumed because he can picture that future, and picture that future, he's become completely obsessed by it all. And yeah, I guess when you can see that, I think it became so completely real to him in his mind and everything, which was amazing. So I gotta say though, when he was in the old Mr. Mooney's old car that he crashed, how because Taylor Swift has like a mansion up in LC and stuff, they played her song on every channel, and he's like, oh my god, I am so sick of this. Oh my god, it was like so funny because I'm like, oh my god, Joe, I feel you.
It's how I'm feeling about Adele Hello right now, because it's such a good song, but it's everywhere. And I'm like, just take a break from it.
There's sometimes that they just OD a lot of that kind of crap, and then you're just like, dude, seriously, enough. Just enough. I can OD the crap out of it on repeat myself, okay? I don't need you guys to be constantly playing it on everything.
You change the radio channel and it's on every single one.
I know, right?
And it plays in stores and there's adverts, and you're like, enough.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm like looking at what we're up to. I think I've gotten up to something, which is great. So I think by then he kind of ends up going home, doesn't he? Like he gets his car back.
No, not yet, because that's when Peach comes onto. That's when Peach comes onto Beck, and she tries. Basically, she takes they get absolutely soaked doing something. I don't know if it's raining or they go scuba diving or something. But they're taking off all their clothes and they're in these robes. And then Peach comes onto Beck and starts kissing her way down her body and just roll with it, Beck. Just go with it. And then Beck's like, nah, mate. Sorry, not into women.
Yeah, but she kind of like lets her for a little bit, but then I guess something goes, because it's not in her point of view. Of course, we don't know what she was really thinking.
It's like something clicks. And she's like, whoa.
I felt like because Peach was rich, she let her go a little bit further and then was like, no.
And they had a little bit to drink as well, so.
Yeah, she probably thought, oh, it would be worth it, but then something was like, no, we're not that sort of person. So
yeah, Peach decides that she's going to go for a run to get over the rejection.
The run.
The run. So she's running along the beach, and I know.
Hashtag Joe's awesome.
Yep, and Joe runs after her and pounces.
We're like,
knocks her to the ground.
Joe, do not do this to us.
Yeah, we're like, you better succeed now. She better not survive this one.
Like, I mean, seriously, mate, like, just do it. Just make sure she's just done. And he does. Yeah. And he sees him and says, you.
Yeah, she identifies him and she's like, you. And I'm like, yeah, that's the title of the book.
Ah, yes. I was like that too.
So that was great. And then, so he suffocates her and then bashes her head in with a rock. And it is the most satisfying moment of any book ever.
Like, the breath of air out of my throat. I was like, yes, Joe. And then that's when we kind of look up and think, back to reality. Hang on a second. Did I just encourage that?
Yeah. Did I just encourage murder?
That was just, no, that wasn't right. But then we kind of, like, I think, yeah, we kind of had to take that step back again and think, what's going on? But then you just justify it with, yeah, but Peach was a mole. Who cares? Like, just shove her in her pockets, chuck her in the water. She's going to be drowned there, and takes her phone. That's right.
Yeah.
Take the phone so that he
And
can like tweet as
yeah.
her.
And he sends Beck an email or something saying, "Can't do it anymore, I'm sorry," or something like that, something along those lines.
Yes,
And
yes,
then
yes.
he puts rocks in her pockets and throws her into the sea.
And then heads home after all
Yep.
that because, hi, finally.
Yep, he's just like, "Oh, I need to go to bed. Let's go home." So he goes home.
And then that's when he's again like, it's been 23 minutes and 13 days since we left the picture.
He's back to counting down, and we're back to sitting there going, "Come on, Beck, contact Joe."
Yeah, but then she's not, and you're seeing, yeah, that's when Dr. Nikki, it's like problems after problems. You get rid of one person, then another one pops up. It's like,
Yeah.
so now she's obsessed of going to a therapist, Dr. Nikki, and he is telling her basically just focus on yourself and just don't worry about everything. And so she does. So she stops contacting basically everybody,
Yeah.
as well as just focusing on her writing and school.
She
And
doesn't talk to her other two friends who are good for her, like Channa and Lynn. She doesn't talk to them.
yeah. So she starts writing emails to herself as a coping mechanism from Dr. Nikki by saying to encourage yourself and write letters to yourself every day. So she does, and Joe is able to
deal with depression. Writing journals to yourself is a good tip for depression. Okay, if you watch this, remember that.
Yes, as well as like a pep talk in some ways to yourself from yourself. And sometimes you need to remind yourself, like if I'm ever feeling down or anything like that with my anxiety or whatnot, I will look in the mirror and say, "You are beautiful, Becky." And telling yourself that makes you believe it. So I guess that was the kind of situation. So you get to see some of those emails to herself. So Joe's obviously like, you know what? I think I might need to see Dr. Nikki myself because I think something's going on here.
And is she seeing him? Is she having sex with him? So he makes an appointment.
And sees him as kind of like himself. But that's when that other chick comes into the picture.
Yeah, he meets a girl called Karen.
Yes.
Karen?
Who is actually good. Karen? I don't know.
Karen's a normal girl. She's a nice girl. They have sex on a train. Basically, they meet, and instead of hitting on her, he insults her. Or something. Like, it's a weird exchange, and then they have sex on the train.
And then she's like so perfect for him. But
yeah, she's a really nice person as well. And she's really good at cooking, and she's spending time with him, and so they start dating for a couple of months.
Beck basically isn't. Social networking is a no-no for her, and she has brothers and stuff like that, and a family, and
she's like the anti-Beck. She's everything Beck isn't.
Like the way she is just happy just being with Joe and with Joe being himself and stuff in some ways. And he's sort of like, I think he kind of gets a bit confused. I think in certain ways of, no, this couldn't possibly be love because, I'm obsessed with Beck. So this doesn't make sense, So, I mean, I think he kind of got confused with what he wanted. And, he kind of sees Dr. Nikki, but then he's like, wow, Dr. Nikki's kind of helping him with her. He's certain situations about the cat and the mouse. Or the mouse.
Basically there's a big ongoing metaphor with a cat and a mouse and
in the house.
And something.
And you later find out that actually that was Beck's idea of the saying. So he kind of stole that from her. But he's like decided, no, you're not screwing Dr. Nikki. Nothing's happening.
Dr. Nikki is married. He's a married man with a family.
Yes. So you kind of like, oh, thank God for that. So you come to believe all that, which was great. So, they go on with that, and that's fantastic. And it moves on with, you kind of think he's a better person now that he's seen Dr. Nikki, and now that he's away from Beck, and now that he's with Karen. And things are going great, and obviously Ethan and him are kind of getting closer, and it's just
Ethan is dating one of Beck's friends at this point because Beck introduced one of her work colleagues to
the one she hates.
Yeah, the one she hates to Ethan, and they're dating, and so they're really happy now. And Ethan's talking about their relationship and how they're moving in together, and it's lovely.
And how things are just happening for him. So he's kind of like mixed about it, like when he decides to break things off with Karen, I believe, because
because Dr. Nikki says, "Does Karen know you don't love her?" And that line sticks in my head, and I don't really know why it does, but does Karen know you don't love her? And he's like, no, she doesn't. So he breaks it off with Karen and then gets beaten up by her older brother.
But it's kind of fair enough because, Karen deserves to be loved back.
Yeah, like, I think it's doing her a favour because you don't want to be led on, do you, by someone who's not really interested in you.
That's right. So he kind of was a good person then. So this is where it gets so confusing because it's like on and off with how he's a good person, then he does some boo-boos, and then he's a good person, and he's got the right mindset. He just can't acknowledge it all the time. So, and the brother's a cop, isn't he?
Yeah, the brother's a policeman.
Yeah, I freaked out. I was like, oh, shit, they know.
I was like, shit, they found out something to do with Peach. Or Benji. Maybe they found Benji's body in IKEA.
Well, I was thinking Benji because I'm like, how long would it take for IKEA to work out there's a freaking urn with like bones and ashes in the freaking...
Yeah.
And then, oh, hello. Oh, baby, did you wake up?
I woke my cat up.
Sorry?
Woke my cat up.
Oh, sorry. Candace, you wake crazy. She does that sometimes. She just wakes up from like a nightmare, or if she wakes up, she just like meows constantly.
Bless her.
But she decides, no, you know what? Screw you. I'm not a mouse owner. I'm a cat person or something, or I'm a mouse person.
It's at this point that that Joe decides to learn more about Beck. So he goes onto Dr. Nikki's computer and steals all of Beck's files.
And that point, Dr. Nikki is saying, look, I'm sorry, but you kind of have to go on. I can refer you to another psychologist, but I don't think things are working out here because at that point he's arguing with his wife about something. So
yeah, he opens up. He crosses that personal border. He opens up to Joe and tells him about his life, so he can't be an effective therapist anymore.
That's right. So he thinks, okay, that's fine. And then he is on public transport, which he bought a pair of headphones. At first, when the blind person kept looking at him, or so to speak, or other people were staring at him, I kind of thought that the headphones weren't working.
Yeah.
But then he was listening to the files because he couldn't wait, because he doesn't actually have written files or typed files. He voice records everything from his sessions. And he was listening to these sessions, and then that's when he discovered something, that Beck was a, I guess, over-sexualized person that was basically a gold digger and had daddy issues and things that we kind of learned along the way of this book about it. I'm glad that they didn't full-on introduce. You kind of got to learn this yourself. And then how she was basically trying to flirt with Dr. Nikki, but Dr. Nikki's like, no. But then along the way it was like, you know what? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Nikki sort of ends up falling in love with her and her ways, and he can't stop thinking about her, and he thinks about having sex with her, he thinks about being with her, and he thinks about leaving his wife for her. And this is all on the transcripts that Joe is listening to, and he's getting more and more angry as time goes on.
So he decides, you know what, I should go running again in Dr. Nikki's neighborhood. And I'm just like, yeah, you do it, Joe. You go do it.
Yeah, you need to do it for Beck. You need to protect her.
But yeah, so I'm just sort of like, yeah, let's just do it. And he was okay. He like kind of blended in and was friendly. I think he's very good at charming people. He's a charming person. Obviously, with how he was to people and how everything came about, he knew how to charm people, so he didn't look like a freak. He was kind of admitted to be a good-looking guy, a normal good-looking guy, not too good-looking though. And like when that lady, when he was jogging on the spot, the lady from the school looked over at him, and then he smiled and waved to her, and she was okay with that afterwards.
Yeah.
It was
Psychopaths are often really good at manipulating people. That's why they can take people off the street, because they just seem normal. Like Ted Bundy was just
yeah,
completely and utterly normal, but he was so charismatic, he managed to convince young women to get in his car.
right.
And I think Joe was very much like that.
And I think the same would go with the guy that took those 3 girls in America. I'm just trying to think. The book Hope, the Cleveland murder, the kidnapping in Cleveland or something. I forgot what the guy's name was, but he kind of could convince these girls to go into his car so he can give them a lift home, and took them to the house to take them for like over 10 years. He had them, and he still continued to manipulate people, and it's amazing at what they can do. But I guess it kind of seems to me like a split personality in some way. There's something that makes them tick and trigger, and it's kind of like that feeling like the brain's like over here and he's all normal and stuff like that, very easily manipulated, and then there's something that just clicks it over to the other side of the personality to say, no, now I'm completely aggressive and I'm going to do this, and this, you know? And it's fascinating. That's why I love reading about all this stuff, because the human mind is just, wow. Like, sometimes you just cannot handle certain aggression that builds up inside of you. I don't know if you've experienced a lot of anger and stuff like that, but I know there was times when I was a teenager, I became so angry at just everything, and it felt like this mound of like volcano just bubbling up, and you couldn't swallow it down. You just didn't know why you were so angry, and unfortunately that's what happens with a lot of people too. And some people just don't have self-control enough to stop themselves from acting on it. So I think that's so fascinating, as well as you studying that yourself, with learning behind closed doors of what is going through the minds. I mean, I know at the end of the day, we're never going to fully comprehend what does go on inside people's minds or why it does, because there's so many different reasons or ways, but it's fascinating.
It really is. Like, I love my study.
Yeah. So, I mean, reading this in the point of view of Joe kind of makes things make a lot of sense, but then it confuses you at the same time, because you're like, but he's a nice person, and then you kind of,
he's got the good reasons for doing these things, like.
But then it kind of makes you think, but in these certain situations, like on Criminal Minds or something, were they in the right or were they in the wrong? Like, you just don't know what triggered them off or why. But then again, you can't exactly, okay, it's wrong to kill someone for pissing you off.
Obviously.
Except Peaches. We make examples for that, which is bad. But anyway.
The exception.
Which is weird, because then if we start making exceptions, then it's okay for everyone to, and it's like a vicious circle.
Yeah, this book is like, it's why you need to take a break from it and really think about it. It's not one of those books that you finish and it's like, oh, okay. It's one of those books you need to put down and think about afterwards.
But I guess along the lines of the whole Dr. Nikki situation, I'm not sure exactly when. Did he end up dying?
No, he didn't, because he was. He was chasing after him and following him, and when he was about to, is it Beck calls
and says there's something going on, and she was upset, so she just went back for her. That's right. And then that's when she found out Peach was dead, and he's like thinking, oh crap, uh-oh, I've been found out. And then it was like she committed suicide.
Yeah, she goes to Beck when she thinks Peach has committed suicide for support and stuff.
So I'm like,
And
yeah, she did, people. So it was crazy. But then that's when he goes back to the cup of piss.
yeah.
The cup of piss. Because he's like, oh crap, like they can easily turn around and say it was me if they did DNA proper testing, but he was just too bloody smart, wasn't he? But then it's kind of like it didn't trigger anything because it's like, okay, first off, Benji died, and then Peaches died. It didn't click that two people close to you died, and it only started happening after you dated this new guy. So
At this point, they know Benji's dead. They think he's had a motorboating accident on the river or the sea when he was high. So they think he's gone back to drugs and he's had an accident, and they think he's dead, like drowned. So they don't know he's been killed. They just think it was an accident.
That's
but
right.
They know he's dead at this point.
But two people getting killed or accidentally dying or, suicide.
All within a few months of each other. You think, why wouldn't you twig?
That's right. You would think. But then that's when you start to think maybe she's so self-absorbed in herself that she didn't really give a shit what else was happening around her as long as she was getting attention and getting what she wanted and everything like that. So we kind of learned a bit more about her, and then she starts, that's when they officially pretty much...
they start dating seriously at that point.
Yeah. And they have the rule with the big robes that she stole from, like, Peach's house. So they're both wearing the big robes.
Yeah, and they have fun, and they go on dates, and they go to each other's places all the time, and all that sort of thing.
But then
at this point, Beck is working at the book. No, Beck was working at the bookshop before. Ignore that.
I think by then, she starts to go around to his place because there was like this plumbing thing at her house, wasn't there?
Well, she says there was this plumbing thing at her house.
But then we find out that around that time, she pulled up her email as Joe went out of the house to grab something. And
Joe
email.
Joe saw her writing an email, but he checked her account and it was blank. There was nothing in her sent file, even though he saw her send something a couple of minutes before. And you start thinking, hang on a minute. And at this point, she's starting to get really distant with Joe.
That's right.
She's giving him what, like, if he sends her a text, she'll send K, just literally the letter K. And that's when you know a woman is a little bit irked. That's when you know something's wrong with a lady.
Yeah, like that's the K part at the end and everything like that. Then she starts to go to his house.
And like she'll say, oh, do you want to meet up? And then she'll cancel it again.
And then there was something wrong with her house with the plumbing. And that's when he basically gives her a key to his house to, I guess, help herself inside the house. So basically, they continue on with that. Like, he's working, she's coming over, but then she's still very distant with him, like not answering back on his emails, his text messages, but yet she's meant to go to her, his house.
He starts getting a bit suspicious at this point, and he's like, something's going on, there's something wrong.
Thinking that maybe it was like, maybe she's screwing someone else or whatnot. Doesn't he attempt to cook for her? Or they even... Just like trying to look out for everything. Like, he got the present that he ordered her, the Pitch Perfect, because Pitch Perfect plays a massive role in this film. Pitch
Perfect is Beck's favourite film, and she's obsessed with it, and I'm like, yes, I feel your obsession.
And she only watches it via Netflix all the time. She doesn't literally have a physical copy of this. So Joe thought, as a great present for her, that he's going to buy her the actual copy of it, because why not, And yeah, he kind of gets that order in, and this is when things start to get the K, and I will see you soon. And then she's like, okay. And he just runs up the stairs when he comes home to find her there. And then that's when it all happens. That's when I couldn't stop because...
Oh man, here's where it gets intense, folks.
This is literally, yeah, this is like for reals. Guys, this is like, what was it? She
finds the Beck box with the photos and the underwear.
Nothing matters. The tapestry that covers the hole that when he threw the typewriter into the wall is on the floor, and you look at me with new eyes when you see me. You are holding a pair of your panties.
Yeah. So basically, everything he's stolen from her, everything he's kept of her life, like her stories and everything, he puts in this box called the Beck box.
Yeah, we don't even realize how extreme he had gotten when she turns around and says, "This is a used tampon." I was like, what?
Yeah. I was like, no, he did not keep a used tampon.
And he goes, but it's in plastic.
Yeah, just put it in plastic, it's fine. Yeah.
Like, okay. And she's so pissed. Like, dude, why are you still in the house? That's when you start thinking, are you kidding me? Why would you
freaking out? She's going mental.
Why would you stay in the house in the first place if you find something like that? Like, and he's justifying why it's okay and like everything. And she's like, this is my yearbook. And it's like, you know, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, he's like,
yeah, it's like, it's a memorial thing for you. Like, it's okay. It's perfect. And she's like calling him names like you're a sicko. And she's like, just literally, if you find something in a guy's place that literally means he stalked you or something like that, and then why would you turn around and try to make him aggressive? Why would you call him names and make him angry?
It's so stupid.
That's a no-no. You need to manipulate this guy, and you need to like make him think everything's okay, and then you need to get the F on out. Hashtag brains. But seriously, like, she was just calling him, you sicko, you stalker, you fuck, you this, you that, making him tick, 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 and you just like, dude, stop. No. Just slow down, woman. You know, like, we were just like, oh my God. I loved how he's like,
he's just like, oh, she doesn't mean it. I know she doesn't mean it.
Obviously not, but he's trying to actually, he's kind of like someone you would put in like one of those situations where they have to calm a terrorist or something out of a situation. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean, Kerry? And
like a hostage negotiator.
That's right, a negotiator, and he would be perfect for that because he was doing fine. He was remaining calm. He was actually writing LOL in like brackets when he said that she was saying this, he was saying that, and he wrote LOL. You're just angry, like like you're just angry like the time that you had your period and this happened and then you were telling me you're sorry and stuff like that. That's all it is. It's all fine. And then it's like oh, he mentions Candace, like if it was a box of Candaces that you found and you would be breaking the walls to get out. And oh my God, she's like, I'm going to scream so hard that neighbors are going to come. And he's trying to calm her down, like, just calm down. Why don't we just take a seat? Everything's going to be fine. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so intense. Like, he's trying to still justify why everything is okay. And he's pretty half convincing.
He really is.
Yeah. I think you're getting
yeah, you're reading it and you're like, oh, this is sweet.
I think you're freezing. Don't freeze on me, girl. Either.
Yep.
It's like this thing's like freezing. I'm like, oh my god. I think we've been on it for like 2 hours. It's funny. But like, yeah, he really is trying to justify how everything's okay and how it's like the Princess Bride movie and how it's fantastic and they're meant to be and their stories of their relationship together and it's like, Beck, please, it's a tribute. You hacked my fucking email. Like, it's true, but it's a tribute. It's fine. It's okay. I didn't have anything. I just have your phone. That's when he admits he has her phone. Like, oh my god. And then that's when she started saying that he needs help, basically. Like, let's go get you some help. Do you want to mention anything?
Not really at that point. She's basically like, oh, you're a stalker, and you know, we've only been together a few months. Like, what are you?
I know. And then it's like, what was it? Did she end up knocking her out or something?
I can't remember something, and she basically something happens, and she ends up in the cage.
Yes. Like, she just starts squirming and stuff, and I think that they end up in a taxi, and he's trying to say PMS explosion, mood swings and stuff. It's so funny because, yeah, of course, if a woman's screaming that you're a psycho and stuff like that because you found a used tampon in your box, it's obviously our fault. We're PMSing.
Oh, yeah. And he was like, she had her period last week. And I'm like, if she had a period last week, she can't still be PMSing.
That's right. It's like, what is going on? Like, seriously? And the driver's like, the taxi driver, when he puts her in, is like, oh, so should we go to the hospital? No, we're going to the bookshop. How did the taxi driver not find that suspicious?
I don't know.
I think they're paid to, like, mind their own business or something.
Not ask questions.
Yeah, so she gets chucked into the cage. Woo! Hello, cage.
And then he decides to go to her house, doesn't he?
Yeah, to sort of look around, clean things up for her because he's talking about how disgusting she is and how she leaves her day-old pads and stuff in the bin. And
so it's like, oh, I'm going to go clean a place for her.
Yeah, like, it's day old. It smells like moon blood or something like that.
Something hilarious.
But he did, like, leave Pitch Perfect on the TV for her, except he didn't press play.
Yeah, just ended up on the stupid menu screen over and over and over. But when he's in her house, he finds her second laptop.
Oh my goodness. I was like, what?
I knew she was cheating. Basically, he read her emails and found out she's been having an affair with Dr. Nicky, a married man.
How crazy was that scene? When he found her MacBook, it was like, I'm sorry, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, a MacBook? Like, he was literally going to sell some things to buy her a MacBook himself, which was sweet. And
turns out Dr. Nicky had already beaten him to it.
Yeah, so it actually is so funny because she kind of knew her boyfriend was reading her emails, but she still didn't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was crazy. Like, are you serious? And then he gets so viciously angry with her. He calls her the C word and everything like that.
He decides to text her as well.
Yeah, so he decides, okay, well, let's think ahead. We're going to email her two friends, or not my two friends, but her two friends to say that she's going to just pretend that she's like on holidays or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
she'll be unreachable for a while.
Yeah, so she did that, and then she says social media vacation starts now on Twitter. And he's done that, which, like I said, he's very smart. And he goes back to the cage where I think he broke Beck. Or Pitch Perfect Menu did.
Yeah. But like he's questioning her. He's like, "You've been having an affair with Dr. Nikki," and she said yes. And basically, it turns out she only had an affair with Dr. Nikki because she liked the power. She wanted to try and break their marriage up and see if he'd leave his wife for her, and he did. And then she said, "Nah, I don't want to be with you. I don't want to be a stepmom to your kids." So Dr. Nikki ends up heartbroken and like divorcing his wife, and he's calling Beck all these names, and Joe is calling Beck all these names. And then Joe is like, "Oh, we're going to read this book together because this book means something to both of us. We're going to read Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code at the same time together and talk about it."
Because they haven't read that book though before, have they?
No, neither of them have read it, but like she gave it, like earlier on in the book, she gave it to him in Italian as a gift. So it sort of means something to the both of them.
Because it's like a book that everybody, I think they judge people that read it to be it's certain sort of like, oh, they're reading Dan Brown, blah, blah, blah. So they decide, you know what, let's do this, because he starts quizzing her as well. So they start reading it together, and he practically lives in the basement with her. I don't know how many days it was, but yeah, she was all like, oh my God, let's read another chapter, and getting all excited and wanting to read it.
Basically, it was like us reading you.
Yes. I was just
getting all excited.
So yeah, they decide to read the book together, and it was pretty amazing.
It was really, really moving, and so like because he thinks they're growing closer, and she was questioning him, and he was telling her everything about what he'd done, how he'd killed Benji, how he'd killed Peach, all that, and how he'd stalked her, and he was explaining everything, and she was saying things like, "You're a genius. Oh, Benji deserved it. I'm so glad you got rid of Peach. I hated Peach." So she was like manipulating him into thinking it was okay, and he was telling her everything. So she finally knew the truth, and she was playing along. So Joe decides to reward her by giving her a massive cup of her favourite coffee that wouldn't fit through the meal hatch, so he had to go into the cage to deliver it for her.
And then they also celebrate with ice cream, I think, when they finished the Da Vinci Code, and he did also do that as well, go into the cage and practically lick the ice cream off of Beck, which she's getting just as manipulated. Like, I don't think two people that can manipulate people so easily, like, I can't believe they manipulated each other so easily. It's just mind-blowing. And I guess by this point, he just believes everything that came out of her mouth of how much she loves him and how happy she is for him to, you know, sort of do what he's doing, and making out that everything is okay now and she's satisfied and everything like that. And so he starts to trust her, and after their loving, making love and everything like that, or her being eaten downstairs.
Not literally eaten like Hannibal Lecter style, but
we're talking just tongue and whatnot and going down.
Providing the oral stimulation.
There you go. That perfectly, darling. So darling. I love how with the English style accent you make it sound so classy. So yeah, me, I'm just like, yeah, he kind of went down on her. All right, like a bug. G'day. It's crikey, it's a big one. No, I can't fake an Australian accent. I'm sorry. So he basically
you don't have to fake it. You just got one.
I can't fake it. Like, g'day, it's a beauty. Anyway, he kind of leaves the cage open and the door open leading up to the bookshop, and the bookshop's closed and that door's locked. buy a key, so you can't actually unlock it without the key. But he thinks, oh no, it's trustworthy. He goes into the bathroom to basically clean himself up of her juices and the ice cream mess, and he's cleaning himself up, and the fan's going, and they were talking about previously in the book about how loud the fan actually is. And he's like, you know what, you're right. This fan is pretty loud and annoying, blah, blah, blah. And by the time he turns off the fan and goes out the door, he realizes something's wrong. And there she is. There she is, banging on the bookstore door, screaming help. And that's when you know she was manipulating. Yeah. And it's like 4 a.m, so no one's thankfully. You're sick. And that's when he's like, well, hang on a second. I don't think so. And he's telling her to stop and start moving and getting angry, and then telling him, like, listen to me, Joe. She was a liar. You're sick. She starts on about how sick he is again and how she needs help. And then he's like, no, I don't need help, this and that. And he starts strangling her, and you're like, holy shit.
Let me go. I won't tell anybody. I won't tell anybody anything. Just let me go. I'll go away. I'll hide.
Mm-hmm. And then he doesn't want any noise coming out of her throat, so he decides the best thing to do would be to shut her up by holding her throat without meaning to. She stops.
Yeah, he doesn't mean to, like, strangle her. He's just trying to silence her. And
she stops moving.
Yeah, she goes limp.
And then he's really upset about it, and it breaks your heart because he didn't mean it. He's like, I don't know what to do with my life no more. He was so in love and heartbroken and everything. And then the dumb bitch.
Boom! She faked her death, didn't she? She went and faked her death.
Well, he thought it was her heartbeat, but then he's like, oh, no, maybe not. And there's no more world with her, and motherfucker.
She kicks Joe. How dare she kick my baby?
But before that happened, he actually picks up her copy of the Da Vinci Code and realizes, because it's so fantastically forensicness, is he finds out that she wasn't actually reading the book herself.
She was faking reading the book. So the most beautiful moment he'd ever had in his mind was a fake, was a lie. She had tricked him in the most beautiful moment he'd ever had. And I was like, bitch, you need to die.
I know, that's when I decided that, you know what? I'm glad that she's dead. After that moment, you decided, you broke my man's heart. Like, hello. Yeah. And then that's when she jumps back into action and had faked her own death and kicked him. And I'm like, what? And then he's like, you tricked me, you C word. And she goes Nazi on him basically and tries to bite him and scratch at him. And then he went back around her neck and says, you were right, Beck, you kill people, you do. And basically the last word she actually says is help. I'm actually looking onto this so that I get it right. And he takes her Da Vinci Code and shoves the book into her. He shoves some of the pages into her mouth. Do you remember that? So I'm like, take that.
That was brilliant. Like, you didn't read it.
Like, dare you? And the way that they did everything, like the explanation of your pupils slip around and your back arches, this is the sound of you dying. There are bones cracking where I do not know, and tear ducts in emergency mode. The tear of death seeps out of your left eye and onto your porcelain cheek, and your eyes are fixated on somewhere I've never traveled. Gladly beyond any experience, your eyes are there silent. Like that
That
line.
is such a beautiful passage. Like, that paragraph is so beautiful in a creepy way.
It is, isn't it? Like, it's so informative, yet it actually felt like you were there doing it. And I'm like, I kind of did like it, but I didn't like it because I'm like, I felt like I was the one strangling her.
It's like I was cringing at the description of like the bones cracking. I hate bones cracking, but I was cringing. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, bitch, you deserve to die.
Take it all.
Like, crush more.
Like, I miss you and you miss me, sort of thing. And then he's like, no. And then that's the moment he kind of had this big thing lift off his chest by saying, no, this is not okay, what you did to me, and I don't love you no more. Goodbye. And then he's like, I want to throw myself in front of engine number 9, the thing that goes way back to the first of it.
Yeah, that's the song the homeless guy was singing.
Yes, and it was like such a
ties in
thing. Yeah, like how she like mentioned things that happened from the beginning, and that was amazing. So basically he's in like a mourning situation, and I think that's when we meet the new character.
No, it's not just yet. He takes Beck's body and he buries it in Dr. Nicky's.
Yes.
It's either Dr. Nicky's back garden of his summer home, I think. Dr. Nicky has a summer home and he buries her in his back garden. And basically, he frames Dr. Nicky for Beck's death because they'd had an affair and she broke his heart. So the police arrest Dr. Nicky and charge him with murder. So it takes care of Dr. Nicky without killing him. Brilliant.
That's exactly right. And without framing him. And I thought that was fantastic. So he actually
so brilliantly done.
Yeah. But I think before he had killed Beck, he had met that other chick. The one that was going to be in Amy, the one that had the stolen credit card.
Yeah, he meets a girl and she sparks his interest because he asks her name and she says it's Amy, and then she gives him the credit card and it's stolen, and he looks her up and he can't find her online anywhere with the name she gave him. So he's like, oh, she's lied. What has she lied about? Why is she sparking my interest? Ooh. So I think she's going to be the main woman in the second book.
That's right. Yeah. It is about that one. Yeah. So.
But framing Dr. Nicky was the best ending of a book ever.
I know, but then I loved also how they kind of just kept it, like they did that part and you're like still recovering from like the whole framing Dr. Nicky, and then it was like dum because he turns around, like she's saying, look, I'm back again, do you hire people? And she says, do you hire lunatics? And he goes that they only hire lunatics. And then he turns around and says, she has a lilting laugh and she likes it here with me. She will be my cashier and my girlfriend. And next time I'm invited to a wedding, it will be addressed to Joe Goldberg and Amy Adams. Like, what?
Dun, dun, dun.
Then kind of gives me that little, oh, and guess what? There's going to be a sequel sort of thing, which was like, what?
The sequel, Hidden Bodies, is currently available for download on NetGalley as a read now. So you don't need to request it or even have a blog. You just sign up, click read now, and the Hidden Bodies sequel is free on NetGalley.
Exactly, and I thank you, God, so much, Kerry, because I don't think I could have loved it. And I've already started Hidden Bodies, and I'm waiting for you to start it too, because I just had to know what the first few chapters was going to be like, and I think I'm
going to start it tomorrow, because I finished Red Queen today by Victoria Aveyard, so
that's awesome.
I loved it. It was so good. 5 stars.
That's so good. I can't wait for the next one. But
I know.
Hidden Bodies is just so freaking amazing so far. Like 10% into it, and already it's the same Joe that we love, and everything's actually working out for him. And then there's this thing that happens that you're just like, of course, the thing that needs to lead the story somewhere, because it can't be just like, and Joe has found a girl and he's happily ever after and blah, 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 because that would be boring. So I can't wait for you to start reading it, because seriously, we need to I need to talk to you about what's going on, because 10% girl, 10%, do it. But it's amazing so far. This book was a 5 out of 5 star for me.
5 out of 5 for me, easily.
I think we've been doing this for over like 2.5 hours. It's so funny, because I knew that we would be talking about everything and anything.
Yeah, it's so, you just need to like talk about it so much with everybody. It's such a unique perspective. Like, to read about it from the perspective of a stalker is so unique, and you get to see a completely different way of thinking and a completely different mind that's never been done before, and I think that's great.
I mean, yes, there's been times, like you mentioned, Kerry, in one of your, wrap-ups of one of your months. I don't believe I remember which one it was, but you were talking about how one of the psychological thriller books that you were reading had the view of the FBI agent or whatnot, and then like sort of halfway between it gave you the view of the murderer himself, and it gave you nothing to guess for at the end, because those ones have been done before, where you get half, and I don't like that either, because you want to be surprised by the whole element of it all. You can either have one or the other, and I actually love the view of the other, because it was just like mind-blowing, and it taught you so much about more of the inside of the mind. And I highly recommend this book for anybody interested in psychological thrillers, anything with twists and turns that are going to keep you guessing, as
long as you're all right with the graphic sexual content. Although if you have a sensitive disposition to graphic sexual content in a blunt way, then you probably won't enjoy this book.
Yeah, because there's a lot of a lot of words used, like the C word, the C-U-N-T, I'm going to say, because I don't really actually like saying that word myself, but that was used a lot. I mean, I didn't mind reading it in there, because I would have screamed that word out myself in those situations, because she was a lying C word. But I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of that word themselves, so there is a couple of mentions of that word in there, but rightfully so, because now
we're all mentions of the word pussy. So if you're not into that, then you probably won't enjoy it.
Or the fact that she likes to ride her pillow.
Yeah, she masturbates a lot. With no curtains. Why would you do that? With no curtains, when everyone could watch you?
But it kind of teaches you the sort of person that she is, though. It gave you little hints and stuff of who she is as that character, and kind of you learn through it why she is the way she is. So she was planning on getting things sorted until she actually met who Dr. Nikki was, and thought, this is another new way to screw up someone else's life and some other child's life, because she, as a child herself, had witnessed her father doing that basically with her stepmother, and she thought, well, you know what, if my life got fucked up, well, so can these kids. And I think that's something that she did. So that's how I saw it anyway. So, but I can't stop talking about it. I'm glad that we did this discussion thing, because wow, there is no way we could have done a normal review of this without
no way.
So no way. There was just so much to it, and Caroline Kepnes has definitely earned a couple of new fans, and I hope you guys, whoever's watched it or whatnot, even if you didn't watch it live, if you've watched it, thanks for sticking to the end. If you watched the whole thing, we're sorry we rambled a lot, but I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed it just as much as we did. We enjoyed the book itself as well. I look forward to more writing from Caroline Kepnes, even if it isn't in the view of Joe, but we'll see where Hidden Bodies leads us first, and I'm hoping to do a discussion with Kerry as well with this new book. But definitely let us know down below in the comment section. I'm hoping that Kerry is able to sort of transfer this also to her page, which we will also leave a link down below for Miss Lovely Kerry. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for being amazing. I always love your recommendations, and your videos are fantastic. For the short amount of time that you've been on BookTube, I've definitely enjoyed your videos. So if you guys haven't already started subscribing to her, please do. She is fantastic, as always.
We're basically like twins. We are so similar. So it's been really great.
Yeah, like seriously, we're like several thousand ponds apart, and we're still like, yeah, so alike in so many ways. Because she'll be like, oh, I was watching this movie the other day. I'm like, get out, I'm watching it now, or something like that.
Like with Hilary Duff's Beauty in the Briefcase, you were watching it. I was like, I watched it the other day.
Weeks ago, and you're like, oh, that's so crazy. But it was definitely a lot of fun. But we are going to actually announce the next book that we plan on reading, which we will start reading next month on our TBR, but we're going to announce every book that we plan on reading at the end of the month. So we will be doing a spoiler discussion as well, and that is...
Dun, dun, dun. We've got The Isle of the Lost by Melissa de la Cruz, and it is basically Disney released a movie called The Descendants, and it's like all about the kids of Disney villains and stuff, and they released it in novel form. So we will be reading this Disney book because Disney is life.
Disney is bae.
Disney is bae.
And it's definitely different to what we just read. So we're very versatile that way, whether it's Disney, thriller, romance, anything like that. We're definitely so versatile in that way, and hopefully gain some new fans that way in terms of being more versatile and having you guys not wanting to watch a bit more of a discussion from us by reading different kinds of books, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying. I've been talking so much. I'm like, my God. It is probably like really early in the morning for you.
Yeah, it's about 3 in the morning, but I slept pretty much all day. So, because it was like one of my first days off from uni work, so I just slept all day.
We're like, what are we? 12 hours? Like 11 hours apart then?
I think it's 11 hours right now because we moved an hour back a couple of weeks ago for the
Daylight saving?
Daylight savings. That's the word.
We're an hour forward. Yeah, so it's like 2 o'clock for us. Oh no, you're freezing.
We're pretty much awake at the same time.
Pretty much. Like,
I'm such a night owl, so I'm pretty much always awake when you are.
Well, I'm such a night owl too, but unfortunately, like, I have to get up early for work and stuff, you know.
Work.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, so we.
Oh, you're breaking up on me.
No.
Okay, try it again.
Yeah, we're really excited for the Isle of the Lost. The cover is really gorgeous. Like, I'm liking that cover. That cover works for me.
Such love for it.
So yeah, the back is like evil tree, bad apple. 20 years ago, all the evil villains were banished from the kingdom of Aradon to the Isle of the Lost, a dark and dreary place protected by a force field that makes it impossible for them to leave. And it's basically all about their children and how they're trying to free their captive parents.
I am so excited. I've got to pick up my copy very soon because the shops close at 5 and I won't get a chance otherwise. But we are going to start reading this probably next week or something like that, which is exciting. I don't know, like, it depends obviously how many books we plan on reading on our TBR and everything like that whenever we're starting, but keep an eye out on our updates. We'll leave our links below on where you can follow us. I've got my Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter down below on my links, and Kerry will let me know what link she wants me to leave for her down below also for my channel.
Pretty much just Twitter.
You're frozen.
I'm back. Hello.
hello. Yeah.
So yeah, basically Twitter, Facebook, and Goodreads for me.
Yeah.
Mostly Twitter.
Yeah, so that's where we'll leave all our daily updates, if any, on the books we're reading. So feel free to give us recommendations, or if you've read any of these books, what did you think? But obviously no spoilers, just in case other people haven't read these certain books themselves.
Unless it's about you, because this video is pretty much an entire spoiler. Yeah, so you can talk about you spoilers.
What did you guys think? Did you guys go crazy? Were you like fangirling over Joe? What is going on with this world? I would like to see this as a movie.
I really would. I think it would work so well.
Yes. What do you guys think? If so, who do you think would play Joe and Beck? Like, seriously.
Oh my god, the guy from American Horror Story who plays Tate would be an amazing Joe.
Yes, but he looks a bit younger though, because Joe's about in his 30s.
Yeah, that's true. I just love Tate and everything.
He's just amazing. But what about Beck? Who would you think would Beck be?
I don't really know.
Conniving person. I don't know who Beck would be. Like, we'll have to think about that, but we'll like discuss that further anyways on our Voxer and stuff. But are we ready to sign off?
I think we are.
Yeah, so when we sign off, I'll just stop the thing and then you stay on, I think. Anyway, would you like to go first?
No, you. After you, my dear.
Ooh, thank you. Oh my god, I've got your accent. Guys, thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for sticking through to the end. If you did skip over certain bits, that's okay too, but thank you again for watching. Thank you, Kerry, for obviously making time for us in your awesome schedule. Thank you, Gracie, for being quiet. Thanks, Candace, for sleeping through this whole thing. I really but this is Becks and Books, and what are you?
A novel experience.
Woo! And we are the book club of the Babysitters Club. No, I'm just kidding. Babysitters Club. And this is a novel Zen book experience. We gotta get used to that. We need to like have these things.
We need to shorten it. We need to have a nickname.
We will find something, and we are gonna fan fiction Joe. No, I'm just kidding.
I really could.
You could, yeah. But thank you again, guys, for watching, and
we love you.
Yeah, so much love. Until next time, stay true to yourself. No hiding bodies in IKEA boxes, and happy reading, of course. Bye.